I just remember Dad's words saying to me, "You don't want to just be a hairdresser, do you?" As in every 5 weeks for his haircut. "You can take over the conveyancing business." And I'm like, no thanks.
No thanks.
I can't sit behind a desk for 8 hours a day. Sure you don't want to work for me? And I'm like, no. I said, it makes me more tired sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. So I'd rather put me in a hair salon for 12 hours and I'll be bouncing off the walls still when I get home. Never in my life she would see me back in that office. I didn't even know really if it was what I wanted to do, but I sat down with her and I said, I think I want to do my hairdressing course. My cousin Mel, she was always a big support, and I think Mum was just excited to have an in-house stylist for the rest of her life. So I think then and there we'd called, which is where I ended up, Headmasters. Teacher would say, "Hey everyone, come watch Keeley."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, am I teaching the class? He saw, I suppose, my work as a hairdresser. He knew I was in a sense going to get somewhere. That's where it all started, and that's where Mel literally threw me in the deep end. And Keeley, you're going to start doing the foils at the back. How do I do this on Zero?
Good.
She's like, there's a thing called YouTube, Keeley. It'll tell you. Sometimes I get a bit nervous talking about my business. I'm like, oh my God, I sound so look at me.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm very passionate about. Those connections that you build with people.
Yes.
And people feel so trusted by you that they tell you their worst and their best parts of their life. Always know your worth, but don't make it your personality. There's bad days, there's good days, there's challenges, but I think what gets me up every day is that it's mine.
Keeley.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me on Thirstee Coconut. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Fantastic.
So excited.
Love that. Love that. So I've been keen to get you in the studio to talk to you about your life's journey and where you got to today, which I'm super excited to get to in more detail. But I want to kind of give you a bit of a highlight at the start, if that's okay. Do an intro. Yeah. And you're very welcome to cut me off if I'm not doing anything right at any point.
Go for it.
So, Keeley, you graduated high school in 2019.
Correct.
You began your career in hair during your high school years, I believe. And therefore, now you're over 8 years experience in the salon and beauty industry.
Yes.
And I want to congratulate you for that. You are now the owner and founder of Kiki Hair.
Yes,
so congratulations. Here in Melbourne, Australia, for those who are watching overseas.
Yes.
And in Australia, Melbourne, you are located in the southeastern suburbs of Victoria, which is quite a populated area. And super popular actually for travel destinations further down south.
Yeah.
If we're talking about Phillip Island and Wilson's Prime and all that sort of stuff, we're kind of down that end of Victoria.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about uncovering more about Kiki Hair further down the track. But today we're going to talk through your journey and kind of how you got to that point, starting off with your early years and kind of talking you through that. Just a casual conversation about all things Keeley.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're ready. All right. So, Keeley, take me through I know you're quite young already in comparison to
I'm
some
just
people.
a baby.
You're just a baby. I.e. the host is not a baby. But I want to understand what your younger days were like. In particular, I guess, kind of what you were like as a high school student, particularly at the kind of tail end, the business end is what we call it, of high school, whether you were intentional about the subjects that you chose or just, anything you'd like to share about your earlier years, and happy for you to kind of just share anything you like.
Yeah, for sure. So like when you were saying before about me being hairdresser from, I think I write on my stuff 8 years, but in counting, I think it's definitely longer than that. I was talking myself through it actually on the way here, and I actually started, which I don't know if this is legal to say, but my cousin ran a home salon literally around the corner. So I stuck my head around one day, and at that point in time, I wasn't that close with my cousin Mel. It's actually my dad's cousin. Yes. And from literally year 6, I just said I want to come in the salon and help out. So on a Wednesday after school, I would walk to Mel's house, who lived around the corner, and go in and work and sweep the floors and make coffees and blah, 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 all that for all the that was year 6, and that's where it all started, and that's where Mel literally like threw me in the deep end. So I started from very young, and it started with just sweeping floors and making coffees, and then she said, "Well, right, if you're gonna be here, you've got to be useful." And I was like, "Like it's only a small space," so she was like, "You got to do more than just sweeping the floors." So
Amazing.
I then started with like washing hair, washing hairs, and then it just all of a sudden turned into putting toners on and tints on and blah blah blah. And then she would be like, "Oh, I remember one day I was literally." She had 4 chairs in the salon, and they were always full at all times. She was always one to bounce off one another, never work on one person at a time. Like it was go go go. It was like a little rotation. And she said to me one day, "Right, I'm gonna do this, and Keeley, you're gonna start doing the foils at the back." And I was like, "I've never done foils in my life. I've
I'm like,
never."
I'm 12.
Yeah,
You remember
I'm
that?
12, maybe hitting 13. I've never done foils in my life, and but I couldn't say that in front of my clients, in front of the clients. So I just went, yeah, cool,
I know
no
what to
worries,
do.
yeah. So that's literally how she corrected me a little bit as I went, but I literally just had to be thrown in the deep end, and I feel like that's where everything's taken from there.
Yes.
And I'm always just like, just go in the deep end and see where I end up. And
Yeah.
so like literally that started from grade 6, and then that turned into year 10. I'd walk home with like my friends after school, bring them to my cousin's salon, do all their hair after after school. Probably get there at 4 o'clock, probably
Yeah.
leave at 10 o'clock with mum going, "Where are you?"
Amazing. And for
I'm
those,
working, Ange.
that's so funny. And I love
So,
that so far. Like
yeah.
that is just so incredible because for those who are, sort of living outside of Australia, year 6 is, so for those in the United States, year 6 is elementary. Of course, if you're in the UK or if you're in Europe, we're about the same in terms of schooling, but
Mm.
you're only 12 or 13 in year 6, right? So
Yeah.
the year after, you'd then be going into high school.
Yeah.
So that's actually quite young to
Yeah.
start,
I
right?
think
And
what's the legal age?
I don't-
14 and 9 months?
Yeah, something like 14 and 9 months here in Australia,
Yeah.
but or maybe Victoria.
Yeah.
But I don't think I mean it could be a smart play, right? Because maybe you were starting work experience a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
and you caught fire, and you're like, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah, for sure.
So in year 10, you were sort of you'd already done the sweeping of the floor, and you'd got experience from being exposed to clients.
yeah, absolutely. And then as by year 10, I was bringing my friends home, and they'd, I don't know, pay. I couldn't even tell you what they'd pay me, but I'd spend hours. It did again. I wasn't quick then either, so we'd spend hours in the salon after school, doing their hair in our school uniforms, like nothing professional at all.
I think by that time you were 16, right? Or
Yeah, what's
15,
year 10?
16.
Like 15, 16.
Yeah.
So by then
You were legal.
I was experienced by then.
You're a veteran.
Yeah, considering I started in grade 6, but
Yes.
and then so I've always, no matter what I was doing, I always had hair on the side. And then we hit like the end of like high school, year 11 and 12, where we go into like VCE and VCAL. So
Yes.
yeah.
So in those years, Keeley, you were obviously doing hair in the background. It sounded like a bit of a passion for you.
It was a
And
hobby. Yeah.
a bit of a
big
hobby.
Yeah.
It sounded like a bit of a hobby for you. And obviously you were still doing high school.
Mm.
What did you do in terms of like, I don't know if, did you do VCAL or VCE? So VCE is if you were heading towards university. VCAL
Yeah.
is obviously if you're ready to go out in the real world and actually, get a job, go into industry. What were you
Yeah.
thinking during high school?
VCAL was like almost like the trade. Like you go, if you know
Yes.
what trade you want to do. No, high school, like that ages, I was in, as much as I love doing hair, I think I was literally in denial of the fact that I wanted to be be a hairdresser. I was just like, no, like that's just on the side. And like, God love my dad. He's very supportive of me now. But I remember to this day, like I kind of like I was getting into it a little bit. And then I just remember Dad's words saying to me, "You don't want to just be a hairdresser, do you?" And I
Right.
was like, oh no, like of course not. I
Oh,
don't.
no, of
No,
course not.
no, no. I don't want to just be a hairdresser. So I did VCE. And I've had so many different things. So I actually did a business course through VCE. I did the vet, like a Cert
Yep.
3 in
Mhm.
business. No, I had no intention at that point that I would be where I am today
Yeah.
running a business. But I did VCE, like mum and dad told me to do.
Yes.
I literally almost had them convinced at one point to let me do VCal, but it wasn't for hairdressing. It was for whatever my passion was at that time. And I think that was like personal training and fitness and stuff like
Ah.
that. I never wanted to go into that. I just didn't want to do
Oh,
VCE.
yeah, of course.
And I literally had them like almost convinced that I was going to do VCal. And I'm like, yes, like it was coming towards like the end of year 11. And I'm like, yes, like I can get out of VCE. And then it wasn't until my VCE coordinator called mum and she pretty much said she's like, Keeley is not doing VCal. She's far too smart to be in VCal. Her potential needs to be in VCE. And I was like,
Right.
damn it.
That's not my plan.
That was not my plan. So I ended up, completing VCA, but still no idea what I wanted to do. But
I
obviously
see.
on the path to go to uni with whatever that was going to be.
Baby, right.
Yeah.
And so you said your dad had said, look, surely you're not going he's probably seeing potential in you to do other things
Yeah.
and more kind of more kind of take your academic side of things a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
How about your mom? Was she of the same mindset?
She was very much, dad was that's probably the only comment that he'd kind of said that was he's very much more like, you do what you gotta do. But that's the one comment I just remember sticking with me. You're not gonna be a hairdresser, are you? But mum was more stern down that line. No, you're gonna do VCE, and she wholeheartedly wanted me to go to uni. And I think obviously as much as mum is very successful and so is dad, where they are now, neither of them went to uni. So they were like, Declan and Keely, you need to go to uni.
Right.
And I was like,
I don't know.
Keely doesn't study very well.
Right, right.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, as long as we completed VCE and we did that and we had that behind us, they were going to be happy with wherever we went.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So you managed to get through VCE?
Yeah, I managed. And at that point in time, I was heading more down the path of like doing law and being a lawyer. I did
Amazing.
like the legal studies and all that sort of things behind it. I think at one point I was even looking at accounting and like some sort of line of that. So I did my accounting and I did advanced maths and then I scratched that and I headed more down the line of like legal studies and stuff. So I ended up finishing high school and I went I didn't apply for uni straight away. I don't even think I did that. You know when you're meant to apply
Yeah.
before you get your ATAR? I didn't even do that. ATARs got released and it was a Saturday, and believe it or not, mum was overseas.
Yeah.
And kept
the
calling.
day.
Yeah, she kept calling me because I think they get released at like 9 a.m. Calling me. And I'd already woken up, checked it, and went back to sleep.
Yes.
She was just calling me, asking me, how
did you go?
How did I go? How did I
Yeah.
go? I ignored all those phone calls, but I think
Probably would've
eventually
too.
I told her, or I still don't think I told her to this day. I said, nah, it doesn't matter because I wasn't going to do anything with it.
Yes.
So I went and actually worked for my mum for 6 months, and that was around about the time that COVID hit.
Yes. Difficult time.
And then about the 6-month mark, I decided that I did want to go to uni, and I did go to uni for criminology psychology for I think maybe 3 months, maybe 4.
Yes.
So still doing hair in the background this whole time.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a very difficult period, COVID, because many young people your age would have started university and then would have been told you've got to do it online, which is very difficult to do.
Yes.
And almost impossible, especially when you ideally want to be on campus and you want to study with your colleagues and your peers and so on.
Yeah, for
And that
sure.
was something that you decided to just go against and sort of made that decision to not do it? Or what did you then do?
After like when I dropped out of
Yeah,
uni.
yeah.
So I think mum was very excited for the fact that she was like, yes, like, this little celebration. Yes, she's gonna go to uni. She's gonna go to uni.
Right.
and then yeah, because literally it was all online, and I'm a very hands on person. Like
Learner
I
and
genuinely could not even wrap my head around the fact the content perfect, that's fine, but I couldn't even wrap my head around it, what, because it was all based online, where I needed to be at what
yeah.
time, what um what's it called, a seminar, all that,
Hmm.
what I
The
needed to be.
tutorials and all
Tutorial,
the
yeah. I was like, just
the
someone just get,
lectures
yeah, I
and
need a
yeah.
timetable. I didn't have a timetable. There was
Yes.
just all like free for all. And like, I've got Declan, my brother, who like, reads something once and remembers it. And I'm like, Declan, can you try? Because he was at the same uni. And I said, can you try? And he's like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, just do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't just do it. And then so I ended up deferring in hopes to come back after COVID. And yeah, I
Yes.
never did.
And in the meantime, you were still pursuing, or you're still sort of working through building your skills on hair salon and
Yeah.
hairstyling.
Yeah.
And how were you feeling about doing that at the time? Like, were you kind of going, this is feeling good for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in my, like I'm in my mojo. I'm in flow here, or
Yeah,
what were
so
you doing?
I was obviously still well, hairdressing was a bit on a halt because there
Ah,
wasn't
yeah.
much happening because of COVID,
Yep.
but well, we still did bits and pieces there, and by this point I in after school I pretty much knew, well, don't want to say I knew everything, but I knew all the basics of hairdressing. So
Hmm.
I remember going around,
Theoretically,
yeah,
and
yeah, and maybe not by the book, but like I would
yeah.
learn everything hands on. And I went around to, I think it was after I dropped out of uni, and I went around to my cousin's house for a coffee, just usual, get out of the house. She's only around the corner, so I could walk around there
Hmm.
um, for a coffee. And I didn't even know really if it was what I wanted to do, but I sat down with her and I said, oh, I think I want to do my hairdressing course. And she just looked at me and smiled, and she was like, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this day.
Yeah.
She was like, I was
And this
never
is
gonna.
Mel, your cousin
Yeah,
Mel.
this is Mel.
Ah,
Yeah, she's like, I've been waiting for this day. I was never gonna pressure you or bring it up. And I was like, oh, she's been waiting for me to turn around and go, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm
amazing.
gonna do it. So
Yes.
yeah.
And so when you did it, did you then tell your parents,
Um, I can't even remember. I don't even think.
or you just went ahead
I
with
think
it?
I would have gone straight to Mel. I think I would have gone straight to Mel, and then just, or I might have roughly discussed it with mum, and then she would have said, because she has no idea about it, she would have said, go speak to Mel about it. And obviously Mel was,
Right.
she was all for it.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
yeah,
And you know what it sounds like? It sounds like you had support,
yeah,
regardless of whether you went to whatever you did,
yeah,
and regardless of whatever anyone thought that your pathway should be X, Y, Z.
yeah,
You still went ahead with what you felt
yeah,
was right for you at the time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yet you still had the support around you.
Yeah, like I had, like obviously, yeah, my cousin Mel, like she was always a big support, and I think mum was just excited to have an in-house stylist for the rest of her life. So
So
by
funny.
that point, she was like, you know what, you've tried it, you did VC, like I've asked, you've worked for me.
I love it.
She's always like, you can take over the conveyancing business, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no thanks.
No thanks.
I can't sit behind a desk for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
It drives me bonkers.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
And so, Keely, by that time, you'd graduated high school. You'd kind of given everything a try, like you'd said you did.
Yeah.
Then, how did you then start pursuing your hairstylist? And forgive me, I tend to interchange hairstyling with salon, and also beauty and salon.
Yeah.
What's the most appropriate sort of term to use these days? I mean, back in my day, it was hairdresser. But
Yeah.
what do people
Oh yeah,
call it these days?
we're still hairdressers. I think in America they call them, because they have some fancy name. They get some nice name, because I think when they go to a hairdressing school, they actually have to do the beauty and the hair. You can't just do the hair.
Hair.
Whereas
Right.
here you can just do the hair. So
Yes.
yeah,
You can specialize.
like my dad said, I'm just a hairdresser.
Oh.
But
Well, if he had as much hair as you do, he'd probably appreciate you being a hairdresser.
Yeah. He's in every 5 weeks for his haircut. I'm like, I don't know if there's anything left to cut here. No, I'm joking. He's still pretty doing pretty well.
And so then, sort of beyond that point, you'd explain to Mel, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What did you do from there?
And then we literally sat down that day and started looking at our options, where I was going to go to TAFE, whether it was going
Right.
to be to Chisholm or we just started literally looking into places. So I think then and there we had called, which is where I ended up, Headmasters. Uh, I think it's literally just called Headmasters
Yes,
Institute, which is in the city.
I see. So you
So
wanted to pursue something more formal in the industry.
yeah, and
Is that
it's
what was Mel's advice, or was that
yeah.
just you sort of going?
No, that was her
"Shoot."
advice because she'd done years ago. She wanted to know if they still existed
Mhm.
because they're a bit more well, they were then, but a bit more private and not so like Chisholm where they've got, a million other things going on at once. So like Headmasters was literally pretty much just beauty and hair. And I think they started anything arts and creative. It was just that
Yeah.
and so it was more, uh, how do you explain? It was more like personalized, I guess,
Okay.
in a sense. Maybe not as many kids as there probably is in Chisholm, and they a bit more like
Specialized.
yeah, and a bit more like strict in like making sure they don't just pass you for the sake of
Yeah.
passing you.
So they
So
treated that as a very important trade. That took it seriously because
yeah,
it is a specialized trade. Would that
yeah,
be the right way to describe it?
yeah.
Mm,
They were all about hairdressing rather than trying to teach a million different things. So
I see.
yeah, like there was a whole
So what's an example of where they were super strict? For example, if you were, was it a
oh
technique that you had to apply, or was it?
look at the cry say what they call like it's the same course like the whole way
Hmm.
through. But they were just really everything. So, I say so like Chisholm, you with your theory stuff,
Hmm.
you only have to get, I think it's maybe 90, like 90% in all your assessments, all your theory stuff. Whereas headmasters, you had to get 100% on
Oh
everything.
wow,
Yeah, you had to get, you had no room for mistake. You
wow.
can, I think you had like maybe 3 times you can resubmit, but
Mhm.
it had to be 100%.
Wow. How long was that course for?
So I was going to fast track it and do it for, it was meant to be 1 year because
And was
I'd,
that because you had
yeah,
prerequisites,
prerequisites. I'd had,
prior
yeah,
experience?
prior experience. So I could fast
Nice.
track it in a year. I think really essentially all I had to learn was the theory behind whatever I was actually doing and then
Okay.
cutting. But it still even say took me uh, just over 2 years,
Okay.
and that was me fast tracking it. So the hairdressing apprenticeship is normally 3.
Gosh, that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you kind of think about those who go to university,
Yeah.
and depending on what they specialize in, for example, if you were specializing as a radiologist, or like in the medical industry, you'd be looking at 3, maybe 4 years,
Oh
depending on.
yeah, for
But
sure.
then with kind of your pursuit, you had the option to do it in under 3 years
Yeah.
and go out in the field.
Yeah, straight. Well, yeah, literally in the field while you're doing it too.
Yeah,
So
love that.
you're not just head in the books. Like you've got a part of your. Obviously, it's a bit different. Like obviously, other things you go on placement and stuff. Whereas and that's maybe twice or 3 times a year. Is
Mm,
hairdressing. You're constantly in it because that's how you pass. Like your employer will sign you off on things
right.
as you go. So
Yeah.
you need to prove it to your employer and prove it to the
Yes.
people at TAFE too.
And that's the way you
Yeah.
like to learn, right? You
Uh,
you expressed before that you like to learn hands-on
yeah.
rather than sitting in front of books, in front of a desk all day
Oh,
long.
absolutely.
That would
Yeah.
have kept you afloat at some point. You would have gone, this is
It,
right up my alley.
yeah, it's just like I said to mum, like when I worked for her, and you sure you don't want to work for me? And I'm like, no, I said, it makes me more tired sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. I'd rather put me in a hair
I'd ra-
salon for 12 hours and I'll be bouncing off the walls still when I get
yes.
home. Like I
Whereas
need
if
to.
I was working in conveyancing, I'd rather stab my eyes with pins.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, no, never in my life she would see me back in that office.
And
Like,
how did you do? I mean, I imagine, you've passed, obviously.
I'd
What
hope
was
so.
the feeling? What was that feeling like when you were done with it, and then you were like, "What
Oh
then?"
my god, it was the biggest relief because they, as I said, as much as they were a bit like stricter and they did not stuff me around, but they didn't make it easy for me
Yeah.
to pass. I remember having a call with my stepdad and the coordinator, and I obviously got Mark in on it because he's very down to the he had his dot points ready
Yes.
and he knew exactly what he was going to say and how he was going to poach it. And when she said this, what he was going to respond.
Yes.
Because they kept saying I had 6 months left to get
I
it
see.
done. And
So they
I
were
was
trying to
like,
elongate your time there.
yeah, I was like,
Kind of felt like, oh my God, no, I'm
yeah,
not doing this.
they told me I had like 6 months left to finish it. And I'm like, that's all well and great, but you're not providing me with the you're not providing me with the resources to be able to complete
I
it.
see.
Because I had to, so I would go into the city Monday, Tuesday for TAFE.
Yes.
And then on a Friday, I would drive into Turak for the student salon.
I see.
So I was there 3 days a week, and then every other day I was working. And obviously that's all unpaid. And the student salon is where I needed to get everything signed off. But they would keep me because without sounding like I know it all, I'd come into the student salon and I wouldn't get anything marked off because I'd already have, say, all that I needed marked off, and the clients where I was up to per se, they might not have wanted foils. It might have just been a tint.
Sure.
So all the things that the clients were coming in for,
you had already
I
done.
had already done.
Yeah. So it felt like just a replication.
Yeah, I was just like working for free, really.
Yeah.
Because the teacher, and then I'd come in and like the teacher, I'd be foiling, and because I'd been foiling since year 6, the
Amazing.
teacher would literally, or whoever was in the salon, the teacher would say, "Hey, everyone, come watch Keeley."
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
then
"Am I teaching the class?"
Yes. You became the example. You became the protege.
Yeah.
With no pay.
Yeah, with no pay.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
a
I'd
bit
be
of a
like,
raw deal.
yeah, I know. I was like, am I teaching?
Where's the contract?
Can you pay for my parking at least? So, yeah.
Interesting.
But they had that phone call and then they finally knuckled down because obviously we would have to get they wouldn't always tell you to get models in. They'd be like, okay, you don't want us to get models in, but you're not providing us with the clients that we need to actually get things marked off.
Yes.
So thanks to Mark Craven, he got me over the line for that
Very
one.
good. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's the thing. You always need your, you need your people,
Yeah.
right? When you need them.
Yeah.
That's when and that goes back to the support thing.
Yeah.
You've got the support when you need it, which is super important, isn't it?
Yeah. Mark's a little wordsmith. He's
Very good.
very good with his words.
Excellent. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay. So you did that.
Yeah.
Got through the hump.
Got there. We got there. We got through that 6 months. Thank God. And
you must have been like,
oh yeah, it was the biggest relief ever. And I was just like, finally, I did it. Obviously went out and celebrated and blah, blah, blah. But I just remember saying, because I had to come in, so I finished, but then it didn't feel like it was quite over yet because I think the following week I still had to come in to get a couple of things signed or whatnot. So I came in the following week. And it's very anticlimactic because they don't do any graduation.
I see.
And actually they started doing that. They actually called, I think, what year are we in? 2025.
Yeah. That would have been 2022.
Yeah, I think it was about a year later. I got this
23?
email saying if I wanted to come to graduation. I was like, what?
Oh, wow. And you weren't even aware there was a graduation?
Yeah. Well, they decided that now they were going to do graduations.
Right.
But what I was saying was you kind of just like, woohoo, I'm done. Everyone else is still carrying on doing their things. You got your paper slimes and you just left. But I just remember my one teacher, Bruno, who I got along with very well, and he saw, I suppose, my worth as a hairdresser. He knew I was in a sense going to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And he just said to me, as I think he had to sign something for me, and he said, what did he say word for word? He was like, just like literally, because as hairdressers can be such pushovers, he's just like literally always know your worth as a hairdresser. He said, just because you're a hairdresser, don't let someone budge you on price or can you do it cheaper or this and that, which I think quite often a lot of people do
in the industry.
I'll go, oh, such and such charges this, can't you charge that?
Gotcha.
Or can I take this out and you charge that? And so I just remember like that is like one big thing he said to me. He's like, literally know your worth as a hairdresser. And Mel Berry, who the cousin I worked for, literally said to me, I wish someone told me that.
Right.
So as like, it's just as a hairdresser, because we can be quite, we can get a bit pushed over at times.
Of
So
course.
yeah,
Family,
everyone
friends, the
always,
customers, the clients, a
yeah,
whole lot.
yeah, everyone tries to negotiate. And I think it really stood out to him, especially at that student, because he was quite often at a student salon, and you have these Iraq women come in and pull up in their G wagons out
Mm-hmm.
the front, but
Mm-hmm.
then complain that the $20 blow wave has increased to $25 as they go
Yeah.
pop back
That's,
into the
that's so
G
interesting.
wagon.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Because that in itself is a lesson,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because you kind of go, oh, wow, this is insightful. I actually thought that, well-to-do women in Turak, which is a very, very high-end suburb in Melbourne, perhaps, the most expensive real estate
Yeah.
in Victoria,
Yep.
where all of the mostly rich and famous people in Australia and perhaps maybe even worldwide would live in Victoria.
Yeah.
And I imagine as a young person, that would have been super insightful. for you,
Yeah,
that-
there was they working in Turak, that's one of my biggest literally, I think I've put up, well, no, I shouldn't say put up with, but there's a tough crowd out
Right.
there, and especially in a student salon. They're harsh. They are very harsh.
and they have their way with words.
yeah, and their tone.
Yes.
Yes, they expect a lot for
Yes. So
Not a
you would have
lot.
you would have had to deal with those tough clients, those who were very educated people actually, who know their way around in terms of negotiating their prices down if they can,
Yeah.
particularly if they're facing into younger people like yourself. And then in comes Bruno, and Bruno says, "Dude, know your worth."
Yeah.
Like,
He was
Just-
constantly. Oh, sorry, I cut you
Yeah.
off there. Yeah,
Go,
he was
please.
constantly stepping in, going, or like even because like these people are learning, and these women
right.
were like some of them were like horrible, and like critiquing or complaining. Like it's $25 for a reason, because they're learning. They might take an hour and a half to blow
Yeah,
wave
that's
your
right.
hair. If you want it perfect and spot on, there was a blow wave bar right
Yeah.
next door.
that's
So
right,
pay
where you
for
can
it.
pay like $100 or
Yeah, for your blow wave,
$200.
and you won't have anything to complain about. But I
Mm.
don't know, maybe that's why they're driving the G wagons, because they're only spending 25.
Yeah, and that's what I
And
was
we're
saying.
not.
And that's why I was saying that's super insightful to learn that, right?
Yeah.
Because you kind of wonder sometimes.
They
But that's
differ.
another topic for another day.
Yeah.
So reflecting back on kind of your years in TAFE at Masterhead, for those who are up and coming and emerging and going through the same process,
Yeah.
what would you say to those people?
If they were going to start their apprenticeship right
Yeah.
now, I would definitely still, as much as like it was a tough gig, I would still like say absolutely go to Headmasters, or there's a couple other private ones now. I think they do pay more attention. You're not just a number. They know
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And
And thanks for correcting me. It's Headmasters, not Masterhead. I think I
That's
said it the
okay.
other way around.
We got there. I think
So-
they've even cut out the head now. I think it's
Oh, do they?
Masters
Oh,
Institute.
so interesting.
Yeah.
So you would say definitely go to Masters Institute?
Yeah, I definitely say still go to Headmasters, because they will take the time of day for you, and as much as your course or something might only be 1 year, they aren't going to push you out the door in 1 year
Right.
time. They will make sure it's done properly before
Yeah.
you're going anywhere.
Right. Would you say that they kind of also had a belief in people that are there, that they believe that those students want to be there, they believe that those students want to learn and they want to get through it, even if they don't have the skills up front,
Yeah.
they'll work with you and
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I would send anyone in a heartbeat to Headmasters or anything smaller in a sense, because it attracts the right people. Is the people who want to be there. Yeah, it's the ones who actually want to be there.
yes.
It's a different kind of layout in, say, as I was saying before, like payment wise, you've got to. Well, I did anyways. I assume it's the same for most. You've got to pay up front, so people aren't going to pay that if they're if they don't actually want to be there.
Yeah.
So
It's not for the casual.
yeah, it's
let
not
me just
for,
see
I'll
how
tr-
this goes.
Yeah, I'll try this. So yeah, it's an art. I think it used to just be Headmasters, but now they've obviously branched out into makeup and anything either artsy, like I think they do fashion and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's quite an arty place. So if
I see.
you might like the hairdressing side of things, but you might just want to do fashion. Like I actually had the opportunity there to go out. They invite you out to pick some students, and we got to do style the hair for some fashion show.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some good
I see.
opportunities there because they are intertwined, I suppose, with other things. I don't know what exactly, but absolutely, I would say go to Headmasters, and yeah, the little things like making sure you get 100%
Mm-hmm.
over say 90.
Yeah.
And then also like everything. Well, when I was there, wouldn't assume it's changed in this time. If it hadn't changed from when I was there, we had to everything. So at Chisholm, from what I believe, everything is all your assessments, your theory assessments are online and multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think occasionally you might have to type out what it is.
Okay.
So we all multiple choices. You've got quite a chance to
Yeah. So
And-
I mean, it's set up to help you succeed.
yeah
Right. It's not set up to help people to get people to fail.
yeah
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you had no inclination that you were at that point, you were there just to learn for yourself.
yeah, I was trying to learn and get things marked off myself, and all of a sudden I became the teacher. And I was
Wow.
like,
It's a pretty cool thing to do. That's a pretty cool spot to land in.
yeah.
So then once you'd done that, with all the admiration around you without you even realizing that you were adored. Well, I don't know, but adored might be a strong word, but you were clearly an example to many people around you. Did you celebrate in your own way that you'd kind of gone through that, or did you just get on with it?
Because not a lot changed really. I went out for a couple of drinks with some girlfriends, a couple bunches of flowers, all that, and
Yeah.
then nothing really changed. Really, like Brooke, who I was working for when I qualified,
Yep.
I think I went out with Mel too,
Okay.
but yeah, nothing overly changed because by that point at year end of your apprenticeship, you're doing everything,
Yeah.
and by then it's just a certificate and maybe a price increase because you're qualified now.
Yeah.
So
What were
it
you?
really
What were
just
you?
been.
So would you say that you were already starting to think about the next steps and the what next?
So the next thing was just building up my clientele, and then about 6 months later, I was able, an opportunity arose, and I was able to. Someone left, and I stepped into the manager role of her salon. So pretty much when I qualified, there wasn't too much to do from there. It was just like keep building that clientele, literally just keep doing what I was doing and
Yes.
see where it was gonna get me. And Brooke quite often she let me know because I felt like I was doing a lot for the salon, not just the salon and not just hair and not just clients, like the behind the scenes and like the very business side of things.
Yes.
So I was doing a lot there, and then when I was able to step into the manager role, I was like, oh, happy to do the long hours. I was
I love
happy to
that.
build my own like clientele. I was
Yes.
like happy to work for it, which is I think quite rare in my age group or younger.
Yes.
Not many people
Yeah.
they want what they want, but they're not willing to work for it.
Indeed.
So
What would you say to those who, I mean, the work, right? You've got
Yeah.
to hustle, don't you?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's not an easy industry to make it in, is it?
No, there's a lot of competition. A
Mm.
lot of competition.
Yeah, it's quite a saturated market.
Mm.
And so what's the point of difference then, would you say, if you were, I know you've had 8.5 or over 8 years experience in the industry so
Yeah.
far, which I mean, it's almost unheard of at your age that you've got so much experience. And forgive me for not realizing something. Look, I've been to, sort of, I don't remember the last time I haven't had my hair done by a hairstylist, even though some might not believe it. It's not
Yeah.
a creation of my own. But I imagine that, for you being over 8 years into the industry, that's not something that one would take for granted, right? That's
Yeah.
something you'd want to harness and grow and sort of, take it to the next level where you can.
Yeah. I would say my biggest thing is obviously like I do have to like I've got to be good at doing hair.
Of
But
course.
it's all, I think what separates one from the other is the experience and the person that you are. Like people
Right.
become very attached to, like, people tell their hairdressers everything.
So once upon a time, I'm not sure if you know this, but years
Yeah.
ago, Beaconsfield used to be known as Wisteria Lane. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because it was known for people who lived in our area going to their hairstylist and just sharing
Oh,
their
yeah.
secrets.
Yes.
Wisteria Lane.
Yeah.
And that used to be a show once upon a time in the years back
Oh.
where desperate housewives lived in Wisteria
Wisteria-
Lane and they would go, you know, like, and just gossip.
Yeah.
And that's what hairstylists are for.
Yeah, I know a lot. I know
Lots
I
of
know
untold
everyone's
secrets.
secrets. Yeah.
Headlines, please. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, be careful what you tell me. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's what separates I think one hairstylist from the other. You could be amazing. Like your technique, everything, your work could be amazing, but if your experience isn't there, like if you don't have that personality and that bubbly personality or whatever it may be to be able to talk to your clients, or just the way that you present yourself, it becomes it's a whole experience. Like my partner quite often says to me, "Why do you post your?" He's like, "I don't see many like hair posts. Why do you post your outfits and this and that?" I'm like, "Because that's me, and people love to see that. They know it's like almost like a thing that every time someone walks in, I'm always wearing something different, and people are attracted to the fact that they think that they even like with my content, a lot of it might be about me, or it might branch into the business side of me, or it might not even. I might be doing hair, but we're not even really focusing on the hair at the time." And it's because people become attracted and almost to the fact that they think that they know you. So before they've even booked the appointment or even had their first appointment, through especially social media, they feel like they know you.
Because that is your brand.
Yeah.
Right?
That is me. That
is your brand.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you are, you continue to maintain your brand, because that's why people come to you.
Absolutely.
That is who you are. It's your brand. It's your trademark.
Always remember one thing about your client, whatever that may be. And so it's so little, but my one thing that I always remember is how you take your coffee or your tea.
Yeah, that's right.
Because, as I said, people like to think that they know you, and like everyone unloads everything. So if you remember it,
it's not just
it's like a little hook, line, and sinker.
It's not just about hair, is it? It's not just about hair.
No, absolutely.
It's more than hair.
Yeah.
And I love all of those tips, which leads me into the next question around, did you go out on your own? What was that decision-making process like? Did you end up, I know you worked with Mel, and eventually you then worked for Brooke in her space. And did you start to think to yourself, actually, I think I'm going to do this on my own?
I did my holiday, and then I came back, and I think it's almost like I was getting each individual thing out of my system.
So Kiki Hair?
Kiki Hair.
Yeah, tell me all about that.
So I got back from New York on the 13th of March. I remember that. And then I think it was about a week of deciding if it was liable. And
Within
then
the month.
Yeah, I'd pretty much told her by the end of March.
That month.
Yeah, I asked her. I pretty much just said, I'm not very good at hiding if I'm nervous or if I'm feeling some sort of way. You can read me like a book.
Right.
And she'd come in that day. It's like I couldn't even look her in the eye. And she came in that day and, hey, and like, all bubbly, and hi. Like couldn't, like, because I knew I was going to have this conversation. And then I just eventually went into the back room, and I was like, so she's like, oh God, what do you want to ask me? And I'm like,
what's happening?
Yeah. She's like, you're leaving me, are you? I'm like, no, I'm not quite, but I was just wondering, you know how we talked about renting a chair? I'm like, is that still an option? And she was like, yeah. She was like, of course. And I was like, so like, like now if I start, she was like, oh God. And then, everything literally went fine. She was like, yes, of course. She's like, of course I'm going to be not upset. She's like, I'm not at all mad at you. Like she was like beyond proud, but I was like the biggest relief, and I could actually speak for the rest of the day once I had that conversation.
Love that.
But yeah, that was one of my biggest steps that I had to do. I hate having those confrontation conversations.
No, 'cause it's so nerve-wracking, and you don't prepare for those.
No, not at all. Yeah, so that was the biggest relief, was obviously asking her, and like I said, she always like it was always a way that we were going to go, but it still doesn't make it any easier to ask
No,
to tell
that's true.
someone that you're going to go run your own business in the
Yeah.
same industry that they're in,
Yeah,
and
because
then
you're effectively competing, right?
yeah, we then became competitors.
How do I compete with you, Brooke?
Yeah.
Tell me.
yeah, literally.
She sounded like she was so good
oh,
about
so
it, though.
chill, so chill. We say that we went from being in a relationship to an open relationship is how because we still work under the same roof. But obviously she was super chill about it, which I'm so like beyond grateful for because that could have gone haywire.
South.
Yeah, so south. And I think her biggest part of that was literally because when she eventually went out on her own, people made it hell for her. So why would she want that for the same for someone else? But yeah, from pretty much after I got that relief off my shoulders, it was once again all guns blazing. Let's go.
How did you know you were going to be called Kiki Hair? Had you decided by that point? Did you talk to that about with your mom?
I didn't know. So this is I could not work out what I was going to be called.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be called Hair by Keeley nail. I like
the typical traditional names.
I'm like I need something, and for weeks I was sitting there sketching I'd go to the cafe and I'd do things and I'd think of names and I've actually found my list the other day and I was like thank God I didn't go with any of them and it was actually was it Easter? Yeah, because Easter last year was it was late March, I think.
Okay. That's right. Yep, yeah, so end of March.
End of March, and we were having one of our family gathering family friends gatherings, and so my littlest brother, Ethan, who's 3, at that point in time he couldn't say Keeley, and he could never pronounce it, and the same with all the other brothers, they could never say it either. So I was known as Kiki because that was the first thing that they could pronounce when they would say my name. And then I just never even thought of it. And we were talking about my stepsister Bronte about to have her baby, and I was going to be Auntie Kiki. And then Mum was like, light bulb moment. What about, we weren't even talking about hair or me going out of my own mum for like light bulb moment. And she was like, what about Kiki Hair? And I was like, done.
Yes.
Sold. I was like, yes, because I wanted
to take royalties for that.
Yeah, she doesn't need to know. But I was sold on it because, I wanted obviously something that people acknowledged that it was me, but I didn't particularly want my exact name in it. Like I said, I didn't want Keeley or anything like that. Yeah. So that Kiki Hair obviously represents me, but without being so obvious.
Yes. Like and it's a point of difference as well. It stands out.
And it's like it's personal to me without people, if I tell obviously like that, if I tell the story behind it, people understand.
There's a mystery to it.
Yeah, but other than that, it's got its own meaning to me, and it's my little baby.
I love that, Keeley. Okay, so you decided on Kiki. Well, your mom picked out Kiki. You were like,
Mom,
yes,
I was like, how did we not think of that earlier? I just so Kiki is actually me. That's my nickname. Well, my nickname for my little brother.
It's kind of your handle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we decided on the name. We got there, and I didn't even think. Once I knew, when I knew. And then registered my business name on the 4th of April, which just went by.
Woo.
So we registered that, and then. God, where was it? Then it was all the like fun business sides of things of making sure I had insurance and getting my logo designed in the space of like 3 weeks.
Yes. Who helped you with
that? Her name is Dilemma.
Somebody helped you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I got it made. It's a lady called her name's Emma, so her business is called
Emma?
Dilemma.
Oh, Dilemma.
Yeah, very catchy. Dilemma Designs designed my logo for me, and that was me being very particular. I was a lot of back and forth with that, but we got there. And then I wanted to do a launch video. So my biggest thing was that if I was going to do this, I was going to do this properly. I wanted everything to be professional.
You're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Are you?
Not in anything else but my work. Nothing else. I walk into my bedroom and you'd be like, this
you're unplanned. Every other aspect of your life, your work is like spot on.
Yeah.
Love that.
but yeah, with my page, I wanted everything to be spot on from the get go.
Mhm.
So I got Dylan in, and he did my little launch video for me, and I can't where did it what else? Yeah, then there was just all the little things, getting my cards made. Um, I really couldn't do much until I got my logo. I couldn't launch
Yes.
anything because I didn't want to just say, hey, this is what I'm doing, but without having any picture or anything
I
behind
know.
it. So I actually launched really late. My first day of service was the 29th of April, and I think I literally posted it. I could even check. I think it was
Of
quite
course, do.
literally like a week before I was cutting it fine, and I was like, how am I going to have people in the door for my first week if I can't even have a logo out
I
there?
see.
But obviously, being that I was renting a chair, there wasn't too much to organize. It was just getting my logo in
True.
place.
Wasn't like you were out driving around finding an establishment or anything.
No, I did. I did look at that at first, and then I realized that that wasn't probably a smart move for me. Renting a chair is always. Oh, I don't have any reception in here.
So for those who don't know what renting a chair is,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So look, it can mean different things. So depending who you work under.
Okay.
But for me, I pay my rent, and I obviously work. I essentially operate a business underneath someone else's roof or someone else's.
And is it just
business.
literally one chair in the salon?
Yeah, that was actually like I had to ask that question because otherwise it wasn't going to be liable for me unless I was working probably 12-hour days each day and doing one client at a time.
Not ideal.
So yeah, I'm very lucky that I am able to. I don't have to use one chair at a time.
Yeah.
Look, we're all guilty of it, stuffing up our books. Sometimes I end up with 3 people in there, and I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
But no, I don't.
I
Some
used to
people
do
are
that.
different, but I'm lucky with Brooke. No, I'm allowed to work on 2 people at once.
Amazing.
But that, yeah, I just means I pay my rent.
Well, it just means you got to pay, that extra, right?
Yeah, so I pay
that.
my rent, and all like basin stock and showers and stuff. That's all covered.
Mhm.
And then I provide my own products, tools,
Yeah.
trolley, all that's all my own.
Products
So,
and tools. I was going to ask you a question.
yeah.
If you had one product or one tool to use for a whole year, Keeley, what would that be? Whether it be a product or a tool?
Ooh, what would I do?
What would you, if you only had a choice to
If
pick
I could only
either
have a
one product or one tool for a
Ooh.
1 year, what would that be for you to continue?
It's so hard for
your
my mind not to go wild, but
greatness.
what kind of hair do you have? If you got curly hair, you got straight hair.
Is there a tool that does both?
Yeah. I would have, if
Is it
I
your-
could only have one thing,
Mm-hmm.
this wouldn't be catered for everyone. I would probably have, to be honest, I'd literally just have a hair straightener.
I was going to say
It's
the
so
straightener.
it's so boring, but obviously it can be versatile. Obviously, if you wash your hair, and then whether you've got curly hair or not, you can straighten it. If you've got straight hair, you can curl it. So
Yes.
you can do whatever you like.
You can
be
still get the beauty out of the
versatile. If you just
straightener.
have a curler, well, then you can only curl it. You just got to
Yeah.
like a dryer. Well, yeah, you've got curly hair, you might end up coming out like Hagrid. So I think a straightener, it's very versatile. You could use it no matter what hair you've
I
got.
love that.
If you have to dry it naturally, you can still use it.
That's
So,
it.
yeah, I
Well,
would probably pick a hair straightener. Not that I don't use one very often, but if I had to pick one thing,
Yes.
I'd pick a hair straightener.
Yeah.
Because I can either straighten or I can curl.
Well, thanks for obliging
Or
me
I
on
can
that
blow it.
question
Yeah.
because I was very curious as to what
I would
what
pick.
your answer would be.
Yeah.
And now you're well and truly into the business. How are you liking it now?
I
Like-
love it. That's just one of the things I was so when you approached me on coming on here, I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, I get to talk about my business.
Indeed.
And not sound like, and someone actually asking me, sometimes I get a bit nervous talking about my business. I'm like,
Right.
oh my God, I sound so like, look at me.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm very passionate about and I love talking about. What was I
Do you
forgot?
love about it? What are you like?
I
what are you-
think
what
I'm
makes
just-
what wakes you up in the morning and go, yes, this is
I think
it.
it
You
literally
said
no
something about
matter
confidence,
the
I think.
yeah, it all comes with like I get to make people feel confident every
Ah,
like day. People, it's worth those, like it's not every day, but that reaction when you finish their hair is like massive. Or it might not even be, they might be coming in for the same thing every time and it's
mhm.
not a wow reaction. But like I said before, those connections that you build with people
Yes.
and people feel so trusted by you that they tell you their worst and their best parts of their life.
Yes.
Um, and I think that that's like I get to hear so many like great stories too, so many amazing
Yes.
things. And I think that's what gets me there every day
Yeah.
is that like,
You look forward to
what
that.
people am I going to meet? I've got this new client. What are they going to be like?
Love that.
Um and then yeah, it's hard to know exactly what it be because every day is different.
Yeah.
Um
I
and
love that.
and I think one of the things obviously now that there's bad days, there's good days, there's challenges, but I think what gets me up every day is that it's mine.
I love that,
It's
Keely.
mine.
And would that be one of the, I mean, the biggest, I mean, what in your mind, what would be one of the biggest myths to debunk about the beauty industry? I mean, people think it's just hairdressing,
Mm,
right? But it's not just that.
yeah.
Like, um, it's that's the mystery, isn't it? The mystery is that people don't truly understand that it's everything behind
Yeah.
the hair, isn't it?
Yeah. I think,
Underneath the hair.
yeah, like as I said, like you're not just a hairdresser. And as I said, coming back to what I say about your clients and your people, um, it's a service industry. So
Uh,
if you're having a bad day, your clients can't know that you are having a bad day.
I see.
So it's putting on that brave face as soon as you like if you could be having
Yeah.
the most horrendous day,
Yeah.
something traumatic has happened, but you have to walk in that door and you smile.
Yeah, because they're not into your problems,
They don't
right?
care about your problems.
It's
They want
their
you want to
problems.
hear about they want you to hear about their
I
problems.
understand.
And even my partner said this to me
Mhm.
actually the other day. Um, something had happened, not happened. Just your normal little tiffs and whatever. And then I had gone back to work, and he remember sitting there going, "She's really mad, and she's got to go put on a brave face for
Right.
her clients right now."
Yes.
And I had to just smile and wave,
That's
like
it.
everything, like as much as everyone offloads on you, we have like some days we have shit going on too, but we just
Yes.
smile and wave because it's fine.
Yes, yes.
So I think
The
that's
show must go
the
on.
show, yeah, must go on. And I think that is massive across all beauty
Industries.
industries is that is obviously, yes, the service that you provide, but as I said, it all comes down to your personality, like your
Yes.
personality and who you are as a person. So whether you are, um, yeah, I think you have to be, and I think a lot of beauticians and hairdressers will agree with this. You got to be quite tough skin, not
Mm.
only to like you deal with some tough people because a lot of some people is very stereotyped. They put down the people in the beauty industry because you're
Of
just a
course.
you're beautician or you're just a hairdresser. So you've got to have tough skin for the people like that. You've got to have, for the clients that come in and they trauma dump on you, and that might trigger something in your life.
Of
But you've got to be
course.
there for them. You've become their therapist too, and then you could be having a really shitty day at home. You've got to put on a brave face because, as I said, they don't want to know about your problems. Um, and then yeah, the one obviously you something might go wrong in the service and they might not be happy with their hair. So that you gotta, your confidence can be crushed
Yeah, and the
too.
resilience to just keep
Yeah, a lot of
going.
resilience and trust, like a lot of trust in yourself that know your worth on your
Love
work.
that.
So yeah, it's
Love
not
that.
necessarily knowing your worth as a person, but knowing your worth in what you actually do in your industry and as a hairdresser or a beautician or whatever it may be.
I mean, I'm going to say this for years to come, but you're wise beyond your years. What next for you, Keely? What are you
Oh,
working on these days,
what
specifically in Kiki hair?
what am I working on? I'm a bit gone a bit like I've kind of let my first year in business just roll out, and
Mm.
it thankfully worked amazingly. And I've
Yeah.
now hit 1 year that I've, yes, I said,
Congratulations.
thank you. I've kind of like, all right, I don't know what I did in that year, but get on moving. So I think my next thing is just to continue to grow it and just to be consistent with it. So that's why I jumped at this opportunity, because I'm like, as much as I love doing hair, as I said, I'm passionate about talking about my business.
I love
So
that.
I think that's my next move, and that's even with my like my content guy, he was like, absolutely, let's branch into this side of me talking more about my business, and as a 23-year-old running a business, because as it's building that personality behind the screen, that then they then go, oh, I might get my hair done by her. So I think it's branching into not only obviously continue to build my clientele base, but branching in that to that other whole like business side of things and talking to more people about it, and yeah, little tips and tricks, and I don't know, just see where it goes. I can only I can see people might go, I'm not going to listen to her, but yeah, just see where it gets at, and just
Keeley,
branch into that whole other side.
much respect, hardcore respect to you, Keeley. And I wanted to. There is a question I wanted to ask you as part of a wrap up, but
Yeah.
Can I ask you just before I get there?
Yeah.
What's the gosh, you talk about front of house, right?
Yeah.
The front of house kind of facing into your clients. Back of house, how are you dealing with that? Because that's a reality of business, right? That's the boring things that one has to do.
Oh.
I mean, but almost is like, so there's the 70 to 80% of front of house, which is where you've got to be super switched on for 24/7.
Yeah.
Whether it's there on the floor or behind the scenes where you're in bed kind of constantly thinking about it. But I know you've got to think about continuing this beast that you've just created. I mean, the boring side of the business. How are you taking care of that? And then what about your personal life? Like, you seem to me like such a workhorse, I mean, gosh, it's no wonder you're getting, traction.
Yeah.
What are you doing to, number one, at the back end to look after that side of things? And you could be as high level or as detailed as you like, for those who are seeking to sort of, understand you a little bit more. And then secondly, what are you doing to enjoy yourself?
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot behind scenes that the boring side of things. I thought I knew a lot of it, being obviously manager and helping Brooke with a lot with that.
I see.
I was like, wait,
I got this in the bag.
No, I got this in the bag. No, I do not. The accounting, I do pretty much all my own bookkeeping.
Do you?
Yeah. So I have a little bit of help when I need a hand.
Okay.
But that's the boring side.
Oh my God.
And then there's a lot it goes on behind scenes with replying to clients and replying to that's a lot of out of work, and it's quite often that people think that they want to get their hair done at 10 o'clock at night.
10 p.m.
Yeah, well, you get your message pop up because they're sitting on the couch,
Oh yes,
yeah,
thinking about their appointments.
Yeah, thinking about that sort of thing.
And you have to be up.
Yes, I'm gonna be up, and I can be very forgetful. So if I don't reply straight away, you probably won't hear from me for 5 business days.
You're on notice here, just FYI.
But the main boring thing is obviously, just like all the bookkeeping stuff. I quite now enjoy doing filming. I don't necessarily enjoy filming the content. Editing it, that takes so long.
I know.
Yeah, you would know. It takes so long.
It's not for the faint-hearted, is it?
Yeah.
It takes a level of commitment.
Oh, it's a big commitment. Like it takes. There's always something. There's always something to do, whether it's my bookkeeping, whether it's the content editing. Marketing. Oh, always, yeah.
Clientele, booking their appointments, responding to people.
Yeah.
It's never ending by the sounds of it.
And never, and then you get on top, and then you get all these messages come through again.
Yes.
But to be honest, I'm pretty lucky that, but majority, there's not much there's not a lot of boring things, just the bookkeeping and just staying on top of content. I'm really good at taking the content, but then going back through and editing it and actually posting it
is the other side of it, isn't it?
It's like a chore. It's like a chore, and as I said, I'm quite the perfectionist, so I like to
do a good job of it, might add.
Yeah.
Your Insta reels are pretty cool. I love the garbage one in particular. Where in the end, you said, "Oh my God, that was so aggressive."
That one. Then the garbage one. No, except I didn't edit that one. My content guy did for me. So I escaped lucky with that one. But
Right.
um, I enjoy a lot of it, to be honest.
I see.
And at the start, everything was not everything was. I actually do enjoy just not doing the hair because, as I
It's a
said,
bit of a
when
distraction for you, something else to focus
yeah,
on.
it's something else. Like I always like doing something different, and that's why I always say I will never specialize in one particular thing.
see.
I would never be a blonde specialist or anything like that
I
because
understand.
I like having that point of like well just having difference. So I like going from yes talking to people and having clients to then it being my little businesswoman with my laptop and
I
doing
love
my
that.
book work.
Yes.
So I wouldn't actually necessarily call any of it boring. On some days, it definitely feels like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it has to be
A
done.
very necessary
A
part of
very
the
necessary.
business.
Yeah, it's very.
It's the heartbeat almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, and oh god, I think Mum will um take to this that I call her all the time just to make sure that I'm doing everything right at the
I
books. And
love
I'm like,
that.
so what does this mean again? Or
Oh,
how do I do this on
so
zero?
good.
She's like, there's a thing called YouTube, Keeley. It'll tell you. And I'm like, okay, fine. But I
I
need an
love that.
answer then and there. But yeah,
Yes,
I
yes,
don't want to
yes.
watch a half an hour
The
video.
answer is
I
not
want-
to go and find the answer.
The answer is to come to Mum and for you to tell me how to use zero.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why you're here. But yeah, my mum is my little my picker brain all the time.
Yes.
But she's learning as well because we operate very differently.
Okay.
So yeah, and then outside of all that,
Yeah, what do you love doing? How do you unwind? Like how does Kiki unwind?
gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get the endorphins going.
Yeah, if I'm not at home, I actually am very rarely. I don't like to sit at home. I don't like
Okay.
sitting at home. So if I finish at 6 o'clock, anyone in their great mind would be like, perfect. I get to sit down at home,
Yes.
but I'm like, no. I don't go home until I'm going to sleep.
Wow.
So it's gym. That's my. I used to be like I'm there or still like 4 to 5 days a week, but then now
Yikes.
it's just definitely it keeps
When
me
you can?
yeah, when I can and keep me sane. Keep me sane.
It's your outlet.
It's my it is my outlet, and sometimes like per se it might not even be doing a proper workout. I might go walk on the treadmill and edit some content, but to do two things at once, kill two birds on one stone and feel like I'm doing something. But if I'm not at the gym, I'm probably overseas. And what else do I do in my spare time?
I mean, do you like to hang out with friends every now and then?
I act like I've got no friends.
I'm starting to think, does Keeley have friends or does she?
No, Keeley has friends. Yeah, well, we do. Obviously, us girlfriends hang out a bit, or I think now that we're all obviously growing a bit older, it's more coming to the point that you only see each other for birthdays and things like that. Like we tried to organize a lunch on Sunday, and it wasn't for anyone's birthday, so it all went pear shaped because everyone's doing their own things and everyone's at a different pace in their life.
Yes.
And
then you've got family on top of that.
Yeah,
as
they
well.
got family, a very big family. So yeah, generally now, like I love to see my girlfriends, and I see them when I see them. And it's generally quite spontaneous when I see them. If it's outside of a birthday, if not, we're always communicating and stuff like that. But I spend a lot of time, I would say, with my partner or with my family going and visiting my little brothers because, they're massive. Well, Declan's not here, so I don't get to hang out with him anymore.
I know.
Or drag or invite myself to where he's going. But yeah, I go spend a lot of time at Dad's house and hang out with my little brothers because they're at that age where I want to be present and I want them to know that their big sis is here. So
damn, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. If I were your client, Keeley, I would definitely pay what it takes to stay in your circle. Because, that sounds you sound like somebody who really cares about your people. You really care about your clients. You're super aware that being in this industry is not a one-stop. You know what I mean? Like you don't just go there and that's it. Like you're not just a hair washer, floor sweeper. You're more than that. And you're not even just the person who does the hair.
Yeah.
Like you're 100%, one of the myths that you busted is that you are 100% invested in your clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is where the gold is, isn't it?
be invested in your clients is definitely
100%.
yeah.
Now, I do have one question to ask you, the last one, okay? It's going to get you thinking, so take your time.
Yeah.
And, of course, this is the show is Thirstee Coconut. And I always say that the benefits of coconut are just almost endless. If success, Keeley, were a coconut, what would the 3 layers be that would make that coconut an absolute success?
Go and succeed and work hard and hustle, but just make sure that you don't what you're doing, be passionate about it and talk about it, but don't make it your personality. You are still you. Your business isn't you. I think a second thing would be don't be afraid of the deep end.
Don't be afraid of the deep end.
Yeah, like being thrown in the deep end. Like, like Mel did with me. You're going to foil this person even though you've never foiled before, but just go ahead and do it. Don't think too much. Just do it.
So what is that juicy bit in the middle of the coconut, the juice?
Now, this is the bit that I really need to think about. Give me a moment. I actually did write some notes, so I need to refresh my memory.
Let's go.
I think like the end of everything would, and I think I spoke about this to you on the phone, one of the biggest things, and not necessarily just in hairdressing, can be reflective in all sorts of avenue of work, would be like confidence. Is obviously being confident in what you're doing and coming back once again to like what my teacher, which is like I said, it's clearly stuck with me, especially in my hairdressing industry. Knowing your worth as a hairdresser. It's anything in the beauty industry, we are quite, not always, but to some, we're looked down upon. It's kind of like a female trade, but knowing your worth and knowing, being whatever you charge that for a reason, and your worth. So it all comes down not being necessarily making people feel confident in when you've done your work, but being confident before you even started the job, being confident in just literally everything, knowing your worth in your business as a hairdresser, as literally anything.
I love that, Keeley.
Because if you're not confident, then you're just going to keep breaking yourself. If something goes wrong, then you'll just go into a shell. But if you're confident in what you're doing, then you might be like, but anywho, carry on. So if you're, I think, be confident and lame as it sounds, believe in yourself and what you're actually doing. Know that what you're actually saying is, be true to yourself and what you're saying. You're not just making it up out of bombs. If you were confident in it, then it wouldn't be fake or put on.
If that was the juice, I'm drinking it all day long, right? Confidence. Be yourself. Go in hard. Just believe in yourself. It's not just a cliche.
Yeah.
Right. It's the believe in yourself is actually deep in your soul to kind of go, this is me.
Yeah.
This is Keeley. I'm doing me, and I'm going to kill it while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That is just
like that makes sense. Why the confidence is in the middle, because the confidence will get you out of the deep end.
Damn.
That just
you taking it pays to take your time with things and think things through.
Yeah. But it's true.
That.
The confident, it'll pull you out of the deep end. You go, I'm here now. But anywho, carry on.
Gosh, Keeley. Whatever juice you've been drinking, you ought to sell that, right? You ought to sell that juice to all those aspiring Kiki yet-to-be's emerging in the world out there of hairstyling and salon and all things beauty and confidence. Keeley, this has been honestly one of the most intriguing, fascinating, and just eye-opening conversations I've had
a lot of fun. I didn't know I could waffle so much, but apparently once I start talking about my business, I can't shush, but I won't let it absorb me. But I think I've got it all out my system for a while now, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and I've had a lot of fun talking to you pretty much the whole way through it. So not only my business, but even me as a person.
And if it's okay with you, Thirstee Coconut is going to come back to you in about 5 years' time and see where you're at. And we're going to see what
where we're
ventures
at.
Yeah, we're going to see what ventures you're up to then.
That would be cool.
And keep the conversation going, because this is what it's all about. It's all about being thirsty for life. It's all about being thirsty for love and passion and all the things that you dearly love.
Yeah.
And so I want